Okay, so that I don't have anything on my arms. Okay, I just.
This time we'll call the meeting to order. Is there an invitation?
Let's pray. Father God in heaven, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for this group of people, this body of leaders, and we pray for kindness, and we pray for wisdom, and we pray that everything goes smoothly. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Wentz to approve the agenda. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to executive session.
I move that the city commission recess into executive session to discuss employment personnel issues pursuant to the non-elected personnel matter exception, KSA 75-4319B1, with Amy Lang in attendance, and to reconvene in the city commission chamber at 5:41 p.m.
Second.
It's moved by Commissioner Hutchinson, second by Commissioner Wentz to adjourn or to recess into executive session for the aforementioned reason. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Stop.
No action was taken.
On the matter of the city manager contract, I'd like to approve the new contract and authorize the mayor to sign. Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Hutchinson, seconded by Commissioner Jackson to approve new contract with city manager Amy Lang and authorizing the mayor to sign said contract. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to proclamations, recognitions, presentations. First is commissioner comments and presentation of Commissioner Belvin. Marsha, sorry. Commissioner comments? Anything?
Oh. Sorry, I was waiting for her to get up.
We're gonna embarrass her first before we make her stand up there.
I've enjoyed working with you over the years. Wish you luck in the future. And thanks for the work you've done for the city.
Ashley?
Your experience has very much enriched this process and your work background, as well as just your family and personal background, and being a hometown girl. You know, I'm very proud to have been able to work with you. So I appreciate it.
I only have 1 year in this, but it's been a pleasure getting to know you and working with you. And hope that you'll continue in some form for being involved. It's been great to get to know you.
Yeah, I think when you were first elected, I don't know how long it was before you sent an email asking some questions. But I think that that's so important for anybody that serves in any capacity, is to not be afraid or cautious in asking questions. And I've always appreciated the questions and the insights that you brought to this role. I think it's not easy. And sometimes they are hard conversations, sometimes they are hard questions, but being able to ask them ultimately helps us all do better work. So keep asking questions. I hope to have you continue to be involved. Your involvement has been truly an asset to the city. It's been an honor to serve with you. You get a nice plaque. Thank you. Yes.
No. See, I didn't know.
Anytime you get a plaque and
The blame
That's the. That's great rules. I'm last bit of embarrassed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was the wrong one. So at this time, we're going to move forward with the election results and the oath of office.
Right, as always, I get the certified results from Sheila Tolman, Cloud County Clerk, who also runs the elections, and so I will read those at this time. Ashley Hutchinson, 472, Danny Kern, 281, Gary Girdo Jr., 112, Regina Belden, 243, and S. Christie Hash, 298 votes. Then the write-ins were, with each having one vote, is Greg Hatton, Kevin Muff, and Laura Watson. Let's give Toby a hard time. You had none this year.
Step up your campaign.
game.
I committed to vote this year.
And I will say today, I looked back on all the times that I've done this, and I looked a lot younger, 17 years ago.
Didn't we?
So at this time, so the winners are Ashley Hutchinson and Christy Hash. So at this time, I will administer the oaths. Raise your right hand. I, Ashley Hutchinson,
I, Ashley Hutchinson,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of City Commissioner.
and faithfully discharge the duties of City Commission.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh,
Just for the,
Very official.
I know where that's going.
then Christy will come up. I guess we'll just stand up here. You'll raise your right hand. I think we've done this before.
So,
I, as Christy Hash,
I, as Christy Hash,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of City Commissioner.
and faithfully discharge the duties of City Commissioner.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And take your seat.
Okay. Thank you.
Annual Commission reorganization and election of mayor and mayor pro tem.
I move to appoint Chuck Lambert as mayor and Amy Jackson as mayor pro tem.
Second.
The move by Commissioner Hutchinson to appoint Chuck Lambert as mayor and Amy Jackson as mayor pro tem. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I appreciate it. Designation of city commissioners to the Cloud Core Board of Directors. I would move that Commissioner Jackson be appointed to the Cloud Core Board of Directors or to remain as a part of the Cloud Core Board of Directors.
My second.
I'm already.
So it's been moved and seconded that Amy Jackson remain as on the Cloud Core Board of Directors. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Designation of city commissioner to the Frank Carlson Library Board. No motion is required. Mayor is statutorily obligated to have the opportunity to serve on the board. now a presentation. Can we skip that one?
Probably just
That's
add you for
perfect.
next year.
Perfect.
That's okay.
Moving on to public comments. This is a time where citizens are encouraged to speak publicly. We would request that you state your name and address, speak respectfully, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there any public make comments? Seeing none? Hearing none. Moving on to our action agenda, the minutes of the December 6th, 2023 meeting.
Move to approve the minutes of the December 6, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Hutchinson, seconded by Commissioner Jackson to approve the minutes of the December 6th, 2023 meeting. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to appropriation ordinance 23.
The mule, was less. That was the mule for was that because of taxes or was the price just?
That's because when they sent us the invoice, they sent us a lower dollar amount and we paid the lower dollar amount, and then we went to get the mule and the person had set the wrong dollar amount. So then we have a check coming
Okay.
next time, that's the accessories. So basically that was
Oh,
what
the
was left on,
difference, okay.
the added stuff. So.
With that, I move to approve appropriation ordinance number 23.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Wentz to approve appropriation ordinance 23. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving forward with bids for the St. Joseph subdivision.
Mayor and Commissioners, I'm going to defer to Jason Johnson, Campbell and Johnson to present the bids, and then before you vote, I'd like to have a little conversation about that.
Okay, in your package, you received the bid tabulation. It was that spreadsheet. We had 2 bidders. Let me back up one step from there. We had invitations out to about a dozen local contractors that would do a project like this that are on our list of contacts. We had about a half dozen of them request plans and specifications. Of those half dozen, those are the ones you really expect to put in a bid. On the day and at the time, we were guessing there were going to be 4 bidders. We had 2 bids come in on the 14th. Both Target Construction out of Newton and Smoky Hill Construction out of Salina. Those are the 2 you see in the tabulation. Next to the engineer's estimate, the engineer's estimate is generated by Campbell and Johnson. I apologize if I'm giving you a whole bunch of information you already know. Ken's usually here and I'm the new guy now, so I guess you have to deal with my flavor on this and not Ken's anymore. The big, one of the first things you want to look at, if you go all the way to the end of the complete tabulation, is that the 2 contractors were actually fairly close in their prices to each other. There's only about $90,000 difference in the 2 bids from the 2 contractors, which is good. You never like to see one that's considerably higher than the other and make you wonder what's going on there. The biggest difference is that both of them were higher than our engineer's estimate. The engineer never likes to be the low bidder. In fact, after lengthy conversations in our office, thought we had overcompensated for what the bids that would come in, and we're still the low bidder. And so I think that is where a lot of the conversation is going to come from tonight, of where you guys decide to make up the difference on that. That all being said, the other thing you got in the packet from us is our recommendation. Upon checking the tabulations of the bids and verifying that all the numbers in there that were correct, both Target is the low bidder, as was read on the 14th. The numbers support that. And therefore, looking at their past slate of projects, especially the ones they've done here in Concordia, we see no reason to recommend them to the commission to be chosen to do this project. Should the commission decide to take on the additional cost above and beyond what our estimate was than maybe what has been budgeted for this project. I'll refer the numbers game to Amy because she's way more apt, and has studied those a lot more than I have. If you have questions about the projects, maybe one of them that you're thinking about, then maybe I'll hit off at the pass is, you know, Jason, can you point to something in here that makes up the, you know, roughly $300,000 difference between your estimate and what the bids come in? There are about, I went through and looked today, there are about 4 or 5 individual line items where Boats Parga was higher than what we estimated it to be. Our estimates are based upon other projects that have bid in this area and annual averages that are available to engineers and contractors. Those 4 or 5 items that are, some of those are items that it's hard to estimate a number for and are kind of a real variable. Things like moving dirt and aggregate base, you know, those things are very flexible in prices. Those are kind of the ones that you would stick your finger at and say, oh yeah, those were higher than what we thought they would be. That being said, there were places where Boats Parga was lower on some items than what we had estimated as well too. I can go through those line by line item, but you could look through those as well too, if you want to. There's no reason to take up your time tonight. If any of you have questions about those individually, I would be more than happy to discuss in this meeting or afterwards as well too.
We do also have Scott Sear of Boats Parga.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
The audience. if you wanna
Yeah,
ask a
Scott
question.
Sear is here and
Chris is on.
Chris Metcalf may also be online as well too. Chris would be your project manager for this project? Yes, okay, yeah. Chris was also the project manager for the airport and the lanes of a Highway 81 that we redid not too long ago as well too. Yeah. So,
I mean, the significant variances that I saw were primarily just material.
material is one of them. It is incredibly hard to estimate materials, you know, supply and demand is still something that is making it very hard for us, unfortunately. So even where we put a price in there and then add some contingency to that, we're still seeing that we're getting prices coming back that are higher than what we're estimating.
That, the
And a-
mobilization.
Yeah, mobilization is a big one as well too, yeah. And that's fuel related, that's, you know, personnel staying in town, things of that nature as well too, so. But a good chunk of it is materials, yeah, unfortunately. A lot of our initial estimates are now almost 2 years old as we're getting close to 18 months to 24 months into this project from what our initial estimates, and so there's no way any estimate made 18 months, let alone 6 months ago is any good.
And we did.
Type of thing as well.
We did update it right before we did the thing to try to help with that. And
Yeah.
this estimate that's in here was the updated estimate. Do you guys have any questions for Scott or Chris before we talk about what the gap is, or do you want to jump right into that piece?
Right, so Scott and Chris are both with,
Boats Parga.
Most market, yeah, the bidder that we would recommend for this project if you choose to move forward at this point, so the
Maybe
gap.
I might add one more thing.
Sure.
As you discussed, another thing to think about here. In the bidding process, we also asked all contractors to supply when they thought they would start and when they thought they would complete this project. Just in case that might make a decision in your guys' mind as well too. Both contractors, of course, it's estimate based on weather this time of year. Both contractors estimated starting sometime in February and being completed by September, October-ish range of 2024. So the start completion time really was better than what we had guessed might be and right on par with each other. So really that makes no factoring decision at all here this evening.
Your history with both contractors, do they typically meet timelines?
Yes, yes. Yes, I've worked with both of them on both projects. Both work very hard to meet the timelines. In a project this size, there will always be variables.
Sure.
Of course, those we hope to head off as quickly as possible through consistent progress report meetings as we go through the project as well too. But both will do fine to work very hard and very diligently on this project.
Other questions?
So if we jump into the budgeting discussion, we have about $162,000 gap that we need to make up, $161,917 from the funds that we have available and allocated toward this project to close the gap between that and what this low bid of votes bargain would be. So we've put together some options on how we can close that gap with cash on hand and not have to add that amount to the bonds that would be issued, although that is an option. It would just kind of take a little bit more paperwork to go through and have to reissue, rework the paperwork for the temporary notes. Those are scheduled to close tomorrow, so we would have to do some adjustments there. Options to pay for this gap with cash include delaying an allocation to the press box and the CIP of about $75,000. We had 25,000 allocated for 2023 and 50,000 allocated for 2024. Talking with Chris Atkins this week, we don't believe that that project is going to go forward in 2024, so we believe that that one would be okay to delay. Delaying the replacement of carpet here at City Hall, again, when that was allocated on CIP for this next year, that equates to about $30,000. Delaying additional interior improvements to the police department, we had that allocated at $30,000. We were planning on replacing the concrete parking outside at the 7th and Washington parking lot and around the base of City Hall where it's falling and in pretty bad shape. We had $30,000 allocated toward that. We could delay that. We could delay a mill and overlay on Archer Street from 12th to 18th. We had 150,000 allocated for that. We could delay fixing the base and mill and overlay of Doster from 7th to 8th Street, and we had 83,000 allocated to that. We talked amongst staff about some of those sidewalk improvements and those street improvements. What we've been hearing a lot from you guys and from our general public is they really want to see street improvements, so we're not sure that that's a great way to go. At the same time, we don't have a public works director on board right now, and that would be something that that person would be in charge of, is getting those ready to go. If we're able to get somebody hired, say by March 1st, we might still have time this year to go ahead and get a project design bid out and completed within this budget allocation. If our hiring process takes longer than that, we may not be able to get it done this year, so that's a gamble. Unless we do have other staff take on that role, so that's a consideration as well. Amber's has also told us we've got a very healthy reserve, so we could pull all or portion from reserve and be okay as well. So those are some options that we see on the table in addition to reissuing temporary notes, which would cause that bonding to go up a little bit. I'd really prefer not to do that for a couple of reasons. Having to redo that paperwork, it would increase the cost of issuance. It also puts more burden on that RHID that we work really hard to keep those costs down. And we already know that the way that the numbers are right now, that the city at large will have to pick up a small portion of that. So this may increase that small portion unless we can get those homes built faster or they end up with a higher appraised value. We did recently, we worked the numbers with an anticipated higher appraised value after visiting with the county appraiser. So the numbers do look better, but we're still looking at about that $300,000 mark of picking up with the city at large. So we want to make sure that we keep it as close as possible, or I'd like to keep it as close as possible to that neighborhood paying for as much as possible if we can. But these are some options. Your other option is to reject the bids, go out to bid again and see if we can get better pricing. I don't necessarily know that would be the case. That would further delay our project. But it's entirely up to you on how you guys want to do this.
So those are the only two overlay projects that are scheduled, the ones that you brought up, or are there any others for next year?
There's none others that have been identified. Those were the ones that were identified and included during budget study session when we allocated funds towards CIP. Now, those are always planned. If something else would come up that was in dire need, we could replace that project and put the money toward one that was a better need at some point in time. But that's the 150,000 plus the 83,000 are the funds that are allocated for in CIP to do for FY24.
So, I mean, in looking at the bids, the increases seem to be, I mean, again, they're fairly consistent across those two bids. I'm not, on one hand, I think that's a good sign for our economy that there's a lot of, there's work happening. So going out for rebid, I think we'll probably be looking at least a larger number than that. So to me, it seems like we need to figure out how to keep that part of it moving forward and figure out how to support the funding for it.
I agree. And then as far as where we take the funds from, while it pains me to say, it is a special one-time project. It is a project that if history proves us right, we won't do for another 20, 30 years. So it seems appropriate, since we do transfer a healthy amount into reserves every year, to keep the projects we have going. I hate to push back, even the carpet project, we've been pushing these things back and we've fallen to continued disrepair. And so we've done that for a couple years, push projects back. I'd prefer that we don't, because we do that for surprises and we have to when there's a surprise thing that happens. But in this case, it is planned and it's a very special one-time project. I prefer to take for reserves.
I would agree with that. I think with the exception of if the $25,000 project at the field, if that's likely not gonna happen anyway, I would say utilize that amount and then take the difference from the reserves. I wouldn't, especially the overlay projects with, like you said, the concern from the community. I definitely wouldn't those. And I know we've talked about carpet several times since we've been here, but it's been pushed back. I mean, just as an example, I don't think I agree with the disrepair comments. So I would say 25, if we're sure that that project likely was not going to happen this year and it could be put off till 2025.
So just to clarify, we had 25,000 for that press box, the sports complex allocated for 2023, plus another 50 for 2024. So this project that we're talking about would occur in 2024. Would you want both the whole 75 to go toward this and then reallocate 75 for the next year, or just take 25,000 out of that allocation? Either's fine. I just want to make sure I.
So
Yeah.
it was Chris's belief that the press box was, I think that is a worthwhile investment. We put a lot of money into the ball fields and I think it's good to do that. But if it's not, if it's a 50-50, then I think we should just go ahead and leave it there. So that if it does move forward, we can, and if not, then we can allocate that towards 25. But if it's a 90-10 where it's not gonna happen, then it seems like we could allocate the 75 from 25 budget to go towards the press box and getting it done. I mean, I don't,
So the first thing that needs to happen out there is to get the shop building built, which is also in the CIP, and that one, the design, the planning is in progress for that, because we have to move the shop out of that press box and then plan for the press box and get it built. So I don't foresee it happening before summer for sure, so.
but we have savings for a reason,
Yes.
right? And so that's part of why we do such a good job of saving, so that we have it when we need it. It does seem like this is a time when we need it. It's not for annual expenses, which is not what we want to use savings for.
Or even annual-ish CIP projects. Again, it's a once in a couple decades project.
Hopefully we'll be doing these subdivisions.
Not us, catalyzing private investors to invest in this.
Right.
And we'll never get ahead on streets. We'll never get ahead on streets. So it's hard for me to,
Yeah, take that out.
Yeah.
We
I
need
don't wanna
to
get
get more in. So,
Food for thought on those streets, that Doster Street is right next to the elementary school. And that section that
In the middle
is
school.
right there on the west side of elementary school, and that section of Archer Street is picking up traffic because of the kids now going over to where the middle school always was. So if that makes any food for thought for your decision there as well, too.
Yeah, I feel it every
They're
day.
seeing increased traffic.
I'm older.
I'm aware.
So are you guys suggesting not to necessarily use any of those, continue to leave those for all the projects and then just, take it from reserve, the entire amount?
I think reserves, that's what they're for. One-time thing.
So my point of, are we looking at 160 from reserves or 300 from reserves?
We'd be looking at 160 from reserve. So where the 300 number comes from is over time, the over the 25 years of the bonds within the RHID, 300,000 of that 1.7 million would need to be paid for by the general population, and the remainder, the 1.4 million, would be paid for by the people that live there.
I mean, as I looked at that list that you mentioned, the one that seems the easiest to get rid of would be the office carpet and putting that on for another year. But then you're talking about saving 30,000, and at that point, let's just get it done. I mean, it's
In
not,
the scheme of things.
right, it's not. And with the investments that we've been making in the police department, I'd like to see us keep moving in there. We have savings. So do we have to, need to move forward with awarding the contract first and then?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, as part of the motion, authorize us to use that. But the reserves to fund the gap would be helpful as part of your motion.
I move to award the contract to Votespar for the St. Joseph subdivision for $1,749,991.90 with the gap funded by reserves.
Second,
It's been moved by Commissioner Hutchinson, second by Commissioner Hatch to award the contract to Volkswagen for the St. Joseph subdivision for $1,749,991.90 with the gap funding to be from reserves. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you being online.
Thank you for your decision. FYI, from this point forward, Campbell and Johnson will notice an issue of awardance to Volkswagen and then get the contract sent to them so that we can get the contracts and they can get their bonds in order in the next coming months so they can get started in February.
Perfect. Next, Campbell and Johnson 2024 professional services agreement. We gotta get that work done before.
Mayor and Commissioners, Campbell and Johnson again has been our city engineer on a contracted basis for over 50 years. They hold a lot of records. They've got a great working relationship, great partnership. Jason's done a tremendous job kind of coming into and I'd say growing the business and keeping things moving forward. We've asked a lot of them, especially in this last couple of years, for some great projects. We really appreciate the partnership. We would like to continue that partnership with this professional services agreement. And notable is that all of the rates remain the same. They did add a new rate weight, and I believe that's reflective of a new position that you had hired. Is that correct?
Yes.
We would ask that you would approve the addendum to the professional services agreement to extend it for another year. The one in your packet also is the old one. I messed up and I sent Stacy the old one because I had them open side by side comparing them as I was preparing things, but there is a new agreement that looks just the same that has the updated dates on it. So we'll sign the new one.
I had a little trouble figuring the dates. This is 23, right?
Yeah, we're gonna sign.
Not for long.
We're gonna sign this one.
Sign it in 23 for 24, but the rates and everything still stay the same.
I move to authorize the city manager to sign the Campbell and Johnson 2024 professional service agreement addendum for $17,400.
Second,
It's been moved by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Wentz to authorize the city manager to sign the Campbell and Johnson 2024 professional services agreement addendum for $17,400. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you, appreciate that. On a side note, and I'll step down and let you guys run your meeting. Next year, Campbell and Johnson will celebrate 55 years of continuous business with the city, and we appreciate you renewing your confidence in us. My standing here tonight is not a one-time deal, as both Ken Johnson and Eric Johnson will be retiring as of the end of the year, fully. Sort of. Eric has some projects that will extend into 2024 that he plans to complete, but not take on any new ones. Ken is retiring and then will be available on need. He will most likely be our on-site inspector for the St. Joseph subdivision, as the city of Concordia already has a contract with Campbell and Johnson to perform that construction observation. So that will be his swan song into this potentially as well too. That's it. I just thank you again for your renewal and working with us, and we are obviously more than happy to work with you guys as well.
I
too.
appreciate it.
So,
The Cloud Core 2024 Professional Services Agreement.
Good evening. I just want to thank you all again for your service to the city of Concordia and your support of Cloud Corp through the years. In your packet, I submitted our professional service agreement for the 2024 calendar year. We've had a very good year, and I know that I do report quarterly, which I will be planning to come back in January to present the fourth quarter of 2023. Just a quick view of what Cloud Corp has accomplished since December of 2022 through November of 2023. We've administered over $1 million through the Cloud Corp office from December through November. Of that 1,480,000 came in December last year for the tax credits with the housing project. And then we've been administering the Get in the Cloud grant for 9 years, and this 2024 will be 10. From February through December, our partnership with Network Kansas, we have loaned 7 loans now. We just made a 7th loan in December. So we went from $213,000 worth of loans in 2023 to $258,000 worth of loans with our gap loan funding. Of those loans, every one of those 7 businesses were granted a 30% grant with those loans that were connected. So that totaled $77,400 worth of grants through our e-community loan program in that partnership. In October, we were awarded $60,000 worth of workforce recruitment, which we have a quasi board that we're working with. And Amy is on that board, and I'm very excited to get that going. That money is available. We just need to get the process flowing. In November, we were awarded a CDBG CVR grant in partnership with North Central Regional Planning Commission to run that through the county with the county commissioner, since Concordia was not able to be part of that because of the revolving loan funds. So all glory to God, what a great year we have had in Cloud Corp, over $1 million. I appreciate your continued support. We are asking for $58,055 for the professional services agreement and $3,000 for the classes, which 20 participants in Cloud County alone were part of the classes last year. So with that being said, I appreciate your support of Cloud Corp and all that we are doing for Cloud County.
Nikki, could you tell me out of that 1 million, how much does that go towards Concordia projects?
I would have to total that up. Obviously, the 480,000.
Sure.
And then I would have to total up those 7 loans, how many businesses were of Concordia, and I would be happy to email all of the commissioners. I just don't have the businesses listed in front of me,
Oh, okay.
but yeah.
So it's that 480 plus the 7 loans equal that 1 million.
So you've got the 480, you've got the Get in the Cloud grants, obviously, which we did have some businesses in Concordia. And then the 7 e-community loans, which totaled 258,000. Then the workforce recruitment money is for the county. And then the CDBG is 141.
Yeah,
So
I appreciate those numbers. That
Yes.
breakdown would be helpful.
absolutely. Any other questions?
I move to approve the Cloud Corp 2024 professional services agreement.
Yeah.
Second.
So moved by Commissioner Hutchinson, seconded by Commissioner Hash to approve the Cloud Core 2024 Professional Services Agreement. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to the audit engagement letter.
We have been with Jared Gilmore and Phillips as our auditors since I started. the first audit in 2008, and have been nothing but happy with them. They always answer my questions right away, and we've never paid the full amount of the audit date, so it is the same amount as last year, 13,000 for the regular audit, and we will not be needing a single audit, so that should be, it's in there in case we do, but that is also recommend that you continue on with them.
In the auditing world, is there any benefit? For as long as I've been on the commission, you've been here, we've always received, I think, very good work, and we've done well with the audits. The work you're doing speaks to that. So this question is not at all in any way against them, but is there any need or necessity to mix up your auditors to get it?
I mean, if you ever felt like it, I mean, if you ever questioned anything or felt like it was not, I mean.
But that would be the only reason. It's not that if the same auditor
I don't
does
think
this
it would
year after year,
hurt
there's
to
not.
ever do it, but I don't think it's necessary.
I was at a conference just last week, we were kind of talking about who uses what auditors, and there were a lot of cities that basically said the firm that we're using is the best in the state for public audits, which that was comforting. I know the college used them, we've got along great with them, if there was there as well.
Yeah, I think
It's helpful.
just procedurally, I didn't know if there was any.
Yeah, whether,
I'm thankful that that's who it was when I started, because that was the first, I mean, they had just done the RFP right before I came, I feel like, and then the audit started the week after I came.
oh,
And I had nothing to go with, and so
Okay. Good.
they did it, they helped so much. They've been great, so.
Yep. I'm not a numbers guy, so it's all, none of it makes sense to me.
Move to authorize the mayor to sign the audit engagement letter with Jared Gilmore and Phyllis for the year ending December 31st, 2023, in the amount of 13,000 for regular audit services and 2,100 for the federal single audit.
set from 2024.
For the
Is it
year
not?
ending 2024, thank you.
The
that would be
audit, no, the
23.
audit.
Oh, the audit,
Oh, yeah.
thank you.
The audit will be done.
My motion stands.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Hutchinson, second by Commissioner Wentz to authorize the mayor to sign the audit engagement letter with Jared Gilmore and Phillips for the year ending December 31st, 2023, in the amount of 13,000 for regular audit services and $2,100 for the federal single audit if needed. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to CMB licenses.
These are all the same ones that we've had for several years, except for Casey's did put in for one for the new truck stop. And you'll notice 4 Kids is in there. I think they expect to be open just for maybe a few weeks or something. I'm not sure exactly what the story is, because I did question why they got one, but they'll still be open some in 2024. So they did get theirs, and everyone's been checked at the KVI for background checks as normal, and it's all good.
Other than address for Casey's, should be 145th Road.
Oh, yes.
I move to approve the 2024 CMV licenses.
So moved by Commissioner Wentz, second by Commissioner Jackson to approve the 2024 CMB licenses. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to 720 State Street demolition bids.
Man, Commissioners, you know, this one was part of the July 5th. Got started in condemnation process and went through 2 public hearings now on this one, and it's evolved to the point of we put it out to bid, went past the time required by the ordinance to get it fixed or remove it. So we got 2 bids, and Dalton Dirt Works, 13,000, and Dial Enterprise Last Line for 14,500. We have the money in CIP and made for this, so we recommend approving a little bit of 13,000 Dalton Dirt Works for the demolition of 720 State Street.
Do you know when they're able to do that, or did you already say that? I apologize. When?
I don't know. When it'll happen?
Mhm.
If it was under the demo program approval, it would have, the permit would have to be pulled within 60 days. Typically, we don't have a policy that says it has to happen, but typically I'll put on it, if there's a couple months to the end of the year, I'll usually put it, and I tell them that's because I want to make sure my budget's clean by the end of the year, but this one might probably not start until next year, so I'm guessing they'll get it done this winter, because that's what they do, they like to demo in the winter time. And, I imagine it'll come pretty quick.
I move to accept a low bid of $13,000 from Dalton Dirt Works for the demolition of 720 State Street.
Second.
It's moved by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Hutchinson to accept the low bid of 13,000 from Dalton Dirt Works for the demolition of 720 State Street. Is there any further discussion?
Because the owner, I mean, they're aware that this is the next step, the owner. I mean, have we talked-
The owner has signed the certified letters
Okay,
after the second hearing.
Okay.
And, under the direction of Amy, I emailed the owner 7 days before, 3 days before, and 1 day before the deadline.
Right.
With no response.
and from an email that she previously had answered.
Correct.
Got
The email that she specifically gave me to deal with her alone on.
Okay.
From after, in the gap between the first, 60-day that we gave them.
That's it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to ordinance 2023-3216, 1915 Broadway zoning change.
The ordinance before you is for, the old trailer park up there, 1915 Broadway. David Sprague purchased this. He had to go through 3 public hearing processes to get this changed. And this is, along with the conditional use permit, is one of the last processes. And this is a recommendation from the planning commission to change from an R1 district to extend the C3 commercial district down to that corner, which would encompass this one. And that's the only district that allows a travel trailer park. And that's what David Sprague wants to develop it at. So this is one of the actions that has to happen for him to be able to ultimately do that.
So he's planning on taking all those trailers out.
Yes, yes. In fact, the application for, well, he had to have 3 applications. He had to get a variance, which he has received from the Board of Zoning Appeals for the lot size. Minimum lot size for a travel trailer park. He received that, but the 30-day deadline ends tomorrow. And then he had to get a zoning change from the recommendation from the planning commission and a conditional use permit, which is required to put a travel trailer park in, because there's always conditions. And this one was pretty simple, but with his application, he sent in a whole site. I've talked to Stacy about this before, about loading up your packets with, 40 pages of plans and site plans and that kind of stuff. But he's got, that's kind of the planning commission's work to do that work. And then, but he's got plans for 8 to 10 travel trailer spaces. There's 10 trailer spaces there now, and taking advantage of the existing infrastructure, which is the sewer line and water line. He has to put in a storm shelter, which is going to be a combination bathroom with a shower, which is required, and also a little playground area, little pad, and he's going to have like a basketball goal and maybe some stuff there, which is one of our requirements also for a trailer park. So he's, I think, waiting for our final decisions and the final recordings, and then he'll start. He's already started cleaning. I don't know if you've been by there lately, but he's done quite a bit of work on that property already, cleaning up and getting trailers ready to move out. I just want to make sure they don't end up somewhere else in town. That's happened to me before.
Did he say where he planned on?
Excuse me?
Did you talk to him about where he planned on taking them?
No, I think I'm not exactly sure, but I anticipate he may just try to put them on the demo program if they qualify. It'll cost, us $4,000 and probably take more than 10 to get them all out of there. But a lot of times the excavators will roll up the trailer off of it, scrape it off and throw it in the dumpster and then sell the frame for scrap. And that's how they get back some money on that. So it's not uncommon for excavators to like tearing down trailer houses. And not probably the easiest way, because they've been sitting there so long, there's probably no axles. Who knows if you can even roll them down the highway, if they'll even stay together. So my guess is they'll get demoed off there, but I'm not exactly sure of that.
And then the rule of demo is that you can't build, but he's not building, so.
That's only with the old one.
No, on the demo program for
First.
removing block. Our demo program, it would, those buildings, those structures would qualify, but we'll see. But I know he's pretty picky about how things look, so, you know, seems to be anyway, I hope so.
And no neighbors took issue with this. I'd assume that they'd be happy to have the old trailers out of there.
Yeah.
And anything better. be put in.
Is there any reason to believe that the trailers would be relocated anywhere else in town, or are they?
None of them qualify.
None of them qualify?
They're all too old. But had a couple that appeared, you know, after threatening, and then 3 months later, you see them somewhere else. Not being occupied, just used for storage somewhere in some industrial area or something, like somebody's old house that hasn't been occupied for 40 years,
But not
which
by,
is on my list.
but not by
also.
this particular individual, right? You're just talking about other people in general? Not by David Sprague.
No. This has been in the past. I put a stop to that years ago.
Okay. Also, I mean, just as far as like being an RV park, we have, I mean, even at the airport park, there was issues with tents and homeless population. Is there, some parameters that you're planning on setting up for, I mean, obviously you have to pay
Yeah,
to stay in an RV
longer.
park,
They
but,
stay a little bit longer than what we have, and there's more, actually, it's pickier with the state. Because you have to record who comes in and out and that sort of thing, and then they have to have warning mechanisms in place in case there's a big rain and a potential flood coming or something like that, they can get them out of there. That's the beauty of a travel trailer park, or in a floodplain, is that it's a good development for that, because they can be removed in a short period of time.
I also think that there's greater legal teeth that he has in preventing squatting or something like that, because at that point, it's very clearly trespassing.
Will there be somebody on the site all the time?
No, I don't believe so. There can be, there's not a requirement for it.
Okay,
And he talked about potentially doing that, like having a place, that upper trailer, he thought maybe something right in there would work, you know. To have, if he felt he needed an on-site manager, but I think from my conversations, his idea is to manage it himself as best he can,
most
Family or
trailer
however.
parks that I've stayed in, a lot of them have a manager. Because
Yeah,
you
on
have to-
site.
Oh, yeah, on the site, that's why I wondered.
You don't wanna pull up and look at a sign and make a call phone number, is what
No,
I'm saying.
right.
Wait 20 minutes for the manager to show up and say, yeah, I don't know, it's not a requirement by our rules.
yeah, there's oftentimes not a manager on site and being available by phone, and then they just use a keypad to get in and out of the bathroom that they give you, so. I think a lot of them operate that way, not the ones that have the swankier stuff now.
Not the ones I'm saying.
They don't have a tent campground site, so I won't be able to stay there.
Stayed in many of those.
Okay. I move to approve ordinance 2023-3216.
Okay.
So moved by Commissioner Hutchinson, seconded by Commissioner Jackson to approve ordinance 2023-3216. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Ordinance 2023-3217, the 1915 Broadway conditional use permit.
Yeah, this is the final action for that to happen. All travel trailer parks in C3 commercial zones require a conditional use permit, and that's probably because each condition is gonna be, each site may be different or may need different things, but this one was pretty simple, and this is what the planning commission agreed on, so I don't, and, the city commission has the opportunity to add conditions too, if they want, or even take away, conditions, but this is what come out. And, there's no time limit on it, there's no ownership limit on it. So it can be transferred, the conditional use permit, which you would want in a situation like this, I would think.
I move to approve ordinance 2023-3217.
Second.
So moved by Commissioner Hutchinson, second by Commissioner Wentz to approve ordinance 2023-3217. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to Planning Commission appointment.
Troy Hardacre officially resigned because he will be moving out of town, won't be qualified anymore for planning commission or board of zoning appeals. And we have a Jeff Tillman on file who's, I think a while back, a few months ago. And, he's ready to serve, so I recommend him for, do we have to do two separate motions for each? However. we
I
want to do
would,
it, but
two separate boards.
two separate motions, one for the planning commission and one to appoint him to the board of zoning.
I move to appoint Jeff Tillman to the planning commission for an unexpired term. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Wentz, second by Commissioner Hatch to appoint Jeff Tillman to the Planning Commission for the unexpired term of Troy Hardacre. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to Board of Zoning Appeals appointment.
I move to appoint Jeff Tillman to the Board of Zoning Appeals for an unexpired term.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Wentz to appoint Jeff Tillman to the Board of Zoning Appeals for an unexpired term. For Hardacre, is there any further conversation, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it. Moving on to 2023 encumbrances.
At your last meeting, you approved the purchase of protected netting at the sports complex, and we have ordered it, but it's not expected to be here until February or completed until February, so we won't get a bill until then, and we need to encumber the funds. Since we've already.
I move to approve the encumbrance for 2023 in the amount of $42,300 to be paid for from the capital improvement project fund.
Been moved by Commissioner Hutchinson, second by Commissioner Jackson to approve the encumbrance for 2023 in the amount of $42,300 to be paid for from the capital improvement project fund. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to the manager's report.
Mayor Commissioners, glad to have Christy on board, but she's already mentioned that she's got some plans that will take her away from meetings in January, and then checking with you got some plans that will take her away from the second meeting in January. We would say, okay, we don't have a quorum, don't worry about it, but we already know of a couple of items that we need to have taken care of that second meeting in January, in addition to just approving the payables so that we can keep business going. So I would ask that you would look at your calendar and see if there is a date that we could reschedule the second meeting in January, such that we could end up with a quorum to be able to continue to conduct that business. So the regular meeting in January, the second one would be held January 17th normally.
So we can meet that. Other than that week, I'm here that Monday, but that's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I'm guessing that.
So the Monday after,
I'd be here the Monday after.
Yeah.
I'll be gone that Tuesday through Sunday, the 16th through the 21st. So anytime before or after
we're
that,
not closed on Martin Luther King.
that's solid. Any other time?
Or about the 24th, just moving it a week. Is that too late in the month?
I travel Tuesday through Thursday every week, January to March, except for commission days. So I
The
they're not
22nd?
move that again. If we can do a Monday, that would be ideal.
Monday the 15th is fine.
City office is closed.
Oh, it is closed. I thought it was-
No.
No, oh.
No, it's not. And you are here, Christie, that day? Or not?
Yes,
Yes.
I will be here then.
So January 15th works for everybody.
Oh, no, I'm
No.
sorry. I thought you were talking about January 22nd.
That works for me.
Which is good.
That would be
22nd.
better for me. You know, another meeting that's gonna be coming in.
Yes. 22nd, does that give you enough time? Never to do everything you need to do.
We can set that meeting. So is there a formal action that we need to take to move the regular meeting from the 17th to the 22nd?
I kind of studied about it a little bit since we have our regular meetings set in place. We'll have to make this a special meeting and the other one will just be a meeting with no quorum. So I'll have to do a set of minutes for the regular, the 17th, but no one will be here. So I'll just do special meeting paperwork.
Makes sense.
Okay, so January 22nd, 5:30, this room. Thank you guys for being willing to adjust so we can keep things moving forward. We appreciate that. Just a quick update on the box hanger project. We had another progress meeting today and footings were placed today, so the project is moving along nicely. Very thankful for the rain last Friday, but it did delay a little bit of their earthwork. They're still looking at a completion date of around July 1st of next year, so they're still on track at this point, which is really good. I'll be getting with the FAA to figure out how we put out proposals to determine who gets to rent that space first. So we'll have to look at that. We did finally get access to the FAA reporting database for based aircraft, and we've got, I believe it turned out to be 13 based aircraft here, so we are full in all of our hangars, which is great. So we definitely need this space, and we'll be looking forward to that. Streets did finish the final curb and gutter projects for everyone that had paid, and so anybody else is gonna be put off till next year, but they'll have the opportunity to be on a priority listing. And then once we get those completed, then we'll open that back up with some applications. So those are some basic updates. I will be out for several days, so if you have something urgent, would encourage you to contact Stacy and she can help funnel things to the right information. She can give you great answers, I know. City Hall is going to be closed on the 25th and 26th in observance of Christmas and New Year's Day in observance of New Year's Day holiday. So everybody enjoys time with their family and gets a chance to recharge and get ready for another awesome 2024. Happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Appreciate it. Staff reports?
First of all, I just want to thank you guys for supporting the police department this last year. We've had a lot of bumps, but we've also gained a lot of ground as well. So hopefully I'll be hiring a guy after the first of the year, which will be full staff on patrol. And we do have a couple people that are interested in dispatch, so we will, after we get that hired, we'd be full staff in dispatch as well. I'll be preparing some stats for you guys in January of how we set in the year with our crime rates and everything else. So I'll be giving you guys an update in January. Thank you.
I got some good news today, or we got some good news today. The housing grant funds will be appropriated out tomorrow, I think. So 557,000 plus. We should be getting a check for it, hopefully tomorrow.
The entire amount that's been paid.
The
thus
entire
far.
amount, yes. So that covers everything, and I don't think we're ready to submit for another round, but we decided not to wait. I mean, just do it as soon as we get to 250,000, but that really will put us pretty close to almost done, so. It's terrible that it took so long, but
One more round of 250,000.
yeah, there'll be 7, we have 840 to spend, I think. So that's still just a little bit under 300. Under 300,000 left. So probably have most everything. We have to do landscaping in the spring, and then we're doing cabinets, and then it'll just be finding a way to spend it all. So, but anyway, that's good news. Everyone's relieved.
That's good news. Other department heads? Staff reports? Okay. Commissioner comments? Actually,
The county commission is it's not a new issue, but it's a renewed interest in the local ad valorem tax refund. Is there, if you have some time, can you talk us through how those funds are redistributed to the cities? Is it like the sales tax where it would all come down and have to be redistributed? And what that percentage looks like, and, maybe just provide us some kind of a written, little bit of a update on it, and then what your perception is of likelihood of the issue being brought up this year. No,
Is that okay to do that in early January?
oh, for sure, for sure. Just as it gets going, I'd like to see what impact would be. We haven't, nobody's talked about it in 20 years, really. They do, but.
And why has nobody taken issue with it in 20 years?
They have, it pops up every year, but not in a real way. I don't know if this is in a real way or if it's just new information that people have found. So I just want to understand our side of it.
I'm always amazed at the interest people have with local governance until it means that we have to support something down the pipe. Like states want local governance from the nation, counties want local government from the state,
Correct.
cities want that. So when we want local, it's not if it's me.
Correct.
Neat. Amy?
Looking forward to Christmas. Welcome, Christy. Welcome.
Thank you.
Christie?
Well, I haven't been on the commission for very long, so I will say that I'm looking forward to having another term. And I've worked with most of you before, and I know what we're getting into. I look forward to working with you as well.
Marcia?
I want to thank Stacy for all the work on that housing. It's been, I know, not getting paid like we're supposed to. It's been a real worry, so I appreciate you.
Sheila Jackson was a godsend when we hired her.
You're right.
So she really puts her heart into it, and she's been excellent. She stays on top of everything. And when she knew how it was being stressful, and it was on her too, she'd get on the phone and call every day. And so, yeah.
Thank her for it. And welcome, Christy.
Thank you.
Welcome back. The only comment I have, and I just want to end the year, I guess I was saying this, the last several weeks, we've had the opportunity to drive around and look at Christmas lights and enjoy some of that Concordia is doing. And anyway, we happened to drive by the police department, and I don't know if you just hadn't noticed it or not, but the badge on the police department being blue, and it just kind of got Amber and I talking about kind of where things are in Concordia now, and where they were when we first were traveling back and moving back, and the development, the south development, the hospital, the Shady Acres, Shady Lake
Shady Lake
Motel, and just how much, we're constantly reminded of all the work that we have to do and all the streets that need to be repaired, but we also talk about the curbs and gutters that are getting repaired, the houses that are coming down, the construction that's going up. And so I think sometimes we can get really bogged down with stuff that's frustrating and challenging, and not necessarily seeing just how really, I think, fortunate Concordia is to be doing the work that we're doing and to see the progress that we're making. Just want to end the year recognizing just how hard our department, our staff work in making Concordia such a great place for us to be. So thank you all for your hard work day in and day out. It's not very full of thanks or praise, but please know that your efforts are certainly appreciated. At this time, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hutchinson, second by Commissioner Jackson to adjourn. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. Motion is adjourned.